All right, good morning, everybody, and buongiorno, and welcome to another Monday morning coffee chat. I have my coffee, and I have my some friends with me today, and I'd like you to please welcome my friend Elisabetta Franchetti. Ciao, Elisabetta.
Buongiorno, Sarah.
And
Buongiorno.
Celeste, are you there?
Yes, I am.
And Celeste, together, Elisabetta.
I'm just in the background.
You're just in the background. Okay. Elisabetta and Celeste run their own tour company in Florence, and it's called Unusual Tourist. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you are an unusual
tourist. Wait, yeah, I am we all are. And it's unusual times, isn't it, to be appropriately unusual tourists.
Absolutely, because any tourist right now in Italy is going to be unusual. So I've known Elisabetta and Celeste. Gosh, it's been almost 10 years that I've known you guys, right?
You've known me since 2010, 11. We've known each other.
Almost 10 years. Isn't that crazy?
Yep, isn't it? Yeah. Every summer.
Every summer. So every summer, Elisabetta and I spend with our family tours. She does the walk through Florence for my family tours, and we become friends. And usually we go out and hang out and have drinks. And Elisabetta is a very interesting and multi-talented person, and so we always have a good time. So I thought it'd be fun to have her on today to just give us the update and what's going on in Florence these days. So you are not in Florence. Tell me where you are.
I am not in Florence. I am actually in Settignano, which is on the hills northeast of Florence. So for your friends who have been to Florence, they might remember Fiesole on the north side of town. And next to Fiesole, if you are giving your back to the south, so if you're looking towards Fiesole from the center, you would have Fiesole, which is a bit conical. Next to Fiesole, you have Maiano, and then you have Settignano. Fiesole, Maiano, and Settignano were where you had the quarries of Pietra Serena. And Settignano, which is actually a little town that, I don't know if I can show it to you. I don't dare move anything because everything might fall to bits, but it's literally, as the bird flies, 100 meters away from me, and it's where you used to have all the scalpellini, so the people who used to trek up to the quarries every morning and back home in the evening. And remember, Michelangelo grew up here because his wet nurse used to be in Settignano. Remember that he had properties here, and you do have all those lovely artists that used to come from around here, Desiderio da Settignano and others. So it's actually a really cool place to be. And by the way, I need to do a little call out for my host, because I have spent the last 3 months in the center of town in Via di Mezzo, which I always used to think that was a really cool place to be, because Via di Mezzo, the road in the middle. And if you think Italians use la Via di Mezzo as a compromise, no? And I've always thought, oh, how nice, I live in this road of compromise, in this road that seeks compromise, no?
Yeah.
And whenever I suggested, or I don't know, whenever my friends had a problem, no, you have to find the Via di Mezzo. And I always used to think, it's my home, the Via di Mezzo. But during the quarantine, or during the lockdown actually, Via di Mezzo acquired a slightly different connotation, like you are in the mezzo, in the middle of everything, no? And so I spent all that period there. By the way, you've been to my house, so you know that my apartment is long and thin, on a first floor with hardly any views. So I was invited. I was actually offered this beautiful, beautiful house by the sister of a friend of mine, Alessandra, who is also a tour guide. Her sister, this is her home. This is actually her house. And she rents apartments in town, but she also has a beautiful, beautiful villa in Impruneta, which is literally on the other side of town, so on the southern side of town. And she is at the moment there. There was no one here, and she very, very kindly, bless her soul, I will kiss the ground on which she walks. She has literally saved me.
I can imagine after being in.
And I've been here for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. I was going stir crazy.
Well, your
And so
apartment
I've
is
been here for
located in
3 days.
a great place right behind the Duomo. It's so central, but yeah, it is a little on the dark side. And most people in Florence don't have outdoor spaces. So, I mean, I think those of us,
Yeah,
at least in Seattle, that have been on lockdown for like 2 months now, okay, but I have a backyard. That's got to
yeah,
be,
yeah.
how is
No,
that then not being able to go outdoors, really?
backyards do save, views save. Halfway through that period, I actually escaped, and I actually broke lockdown to go to a friend's house, and I just spent a night. She lives in Piazza. Do you have in mind Piazza d'Azeglio? It's next to the synagogue.
I've been there
It's
once,
a
yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful square,
Yeah.
and she lives on the fourth floor,
That's where
and
Ruth
so she
Kocher's
has.
house is, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm,
Yeah.
and she has all these lovely views from all her windows, these views of the hills on the south of town. And I went there one night, and literally I was looking at the views, crying and going, okay, there is life beyond this, it's not all about my little persianas. And so that really was nice. And now this, and thank you, Paola, for giving me this opportunity.
That is so wonderful. So, what are you doing with
Yeah,
your time out in the countryside? Are you going for walks or drinking
well,
wine and stretching?
yeah, yeah, and taking it all in, and taking in all this beauty, and as a reminder of where I am and the beauty that is around here and how beautiful nature is. And my plan is, I've walked these hills throughout the years. I've been a tour guide for 20 years now. Started in 2001 working as a guide, and I have walked the hills from here to Fiesole quite a lot because I just love those quarries. It's so interesting. And you can still see the quarries of Pietra Serena. Pietra Serena is the gray stone,
Yeah.
no? That you see, the stairway of the Uffizi. That's all Pietra Serena. And it's actually quite lovely and interesting because you see these quarries and you can still see the chisel marks and the methods that they used to extract the stone. I think this is where the stone for the Medici chapels came from, for the new sacristy, for the Laurentiana. So it's seeped with history. These hills are fascinating. And there's trails that you can follow that are the trails of the Scalpellini. So the trails that these men used to go on to go to the various quarries. So there's a
Idea.
lot to explore around here.
I've never thought to go hiking in the hills around Florence. That's a great idea.
Oh, this is very, very beautiful. It's at times not very safe, but in the sense that well, at least the last time I was there, some areas were a bit crumbly and stuff, but it is very, very interesting. It's very interesting.
Well, okay.
This is also, remember, this is Leonardo did his experiment.
What's that?
This is also where Leonardo in Fiesole, where Leonardo did his flying experiment. Well, he didn't.
Oh,
He shot
really?
the guy down the hill. Now fly. Yeah. Vola. Also because, tell me if you want me to continue on this trend, because I just love this. I just love these hills. Also because next time you come to Florence, Sarah,
Yeah.
you need to look towards the hills, look at Fiesole, and envision where you see green and trees. Up to the 1800s, all you saw was gray because there was no trees, because it was all one massive quarry.
Wow. Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Huh. I love Fiesole. I don't know if many people have gone out there, but Fiesole, that was one of my very first writing projects for Rick Steves, actually. It was the same year you started writing, I think it was 2000 or 2001. I was sent out with my notebook on a bus to Fiesole because they wanted to see if I could write. And so I had to go out write a chapter on Fiesole. So that was my very first new material writing project, so I could prove that I knew what I was doing. So yeah, so I have
And obviously that was a very successful project.
I guess. I guess I'm a professional writer now, which is like, wow, I didn't see that coming. But yeah, I love that area out there. Actually, and one time I did a few years ago, a Vespa tour out to Fiesole which was hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
So much
Mm-hmm.
fun because I own a Vespa. And so for me, they gave me the most powerful one because I was the only one that knew how to ride. And I was having a ball, but it was super scary because all of the tourists who were with us, none of them knew how to ride scooters, not one. And I just kept looking behind me. I wasn't the leader. I mean, I was just there as like a guest, but holy cow, I was absolutely sure somebody was going to die.
Yeah, it must have been quite interesting and challenging to partake in.
There's a few people who are watching us who are asking if you could let us know what your website is for you and Celeste. It's unusualtourist.com, is that right?
Okay. Yes, the website is unusualtourist.com, and that's actually Celeste who is the director of that. I collaborate in that. My website is florencecitytour.com.
Yes, and one of the things that Elisabetta and I talk about often, and I think she and I agree on a lot, and this is going to be my focus going forward, is not doing the stuff everybody else does. Coming to Florence, everybody does the Duomo, everybody does the Uffizi and the Accademia, and then they beat it. But the thing that I think Elisabetta and I have spent a lot of time talking about is that there's so much more to do. So that's your focus. I mean, ideally, that's your focus.
Well, that has always been my focus because I've always done private tours, and I always believed in private tours because, well, I was born in Florence, but as you know, I grew up all over the world, and I came back to Italy in 1983. When I came back to Florence was very different, and there was not much traffic, there wasn't a lot of tourism, etc. And having seen, since I've been working in town, having seen the city change in the last 10 years so much, I've often had the request from my own clients who had been to Florence maybe 10 years earlier, etc. Let's go where there is no one. Or let me show you what I like of this city, which, yes, obviously will be the main sites, but also what you find in other ways, because the city is so rich, it's so interesting that you mustn't limit yourself only to those main sites. There is so much. And in the last 10 years, what I have been focusing on with my tours and with my clients is that, because let me confess, I don't like crowds.
Really?
So, you're playing on my plate, you're playing on my favorite, on my plate, or you're dishing it out on my plate. So let me show you what I like. And what I like is what I think the city is, the history of this city, and what this city is in its essence, which we do see where all the crowds are, but you can also see it in so many other places of the city which are hardly ever visited.
Yeah, and this is one of my visions of the future. Is I've been joking for a long time that I want to start a tour company called Trust Me, where I don't know what the itinerary is, and we don't do any of the famous stuff.
Oh yeah, you told me that. You told me that. You told me about that.
It would be so fun. I mean, just the times that you and I have been just wandering around the city. I mean, we've popped into all kinds of interesting things that nobody would think. Florence in particular is rich with places that you can go that you will find zero tourists, and it's full of master. Like, I know that one of your favorites, can I tell people one of your favorites? Is it okay?
Which one are we talking about?
Your favorite chapel.
Well, we're gonna have to open up anyways, because with all these lovely things that are happening, it will be also a attempt of everyone to go and seek for places where there are less crowds. So just whisper it, because then it will be problematic.
Well, the joke.
I think the one that you're talking about is the small one.
Yes, well, we have a mutual friend, and I ran into him in Florence one day, and he goes, "Let's go find Elisabetta." And I'm like, "Well, we can call her." And he goes, "No, I know where she is." And so we go over to this chapel. It's a little chapel that's just outside the city center. And lo and behold, there's Elisabetta with her client, which I thought was funny because we know it's your favorite chapel. So people will have to come to Florence and go and see that chapel, that little jewel box for themselves. But
Are you talking of the Bonomini?
No,
The Chapel of St. Martin.
Yeah.
Wait, I lost you there. Yeah.
Which is a nice chapel.
Which is a little jewel. Yeah, it's a jewel. It's a jewel.
So
but there's so many jewels in the city.
Yeah, people are going to come and spend, let's say, 3 days and do nothing famous. Is there plenty to do?
Oh yeah. And 3 days are not enough. 3 days are not enough.
A week would probably
and there's plenty to do in town. And remember, we had a conversation, I think, a couple of years ago, in which we were also talking of the non-famous cities in Italy. You know, that whole concept, when we brought out the concept of the unusual tourist, which it was also that of, you know, going where you don't go. And you don't go because it's not the famous musts, but they are places that are seeped with history, with beauty, with things to see, with lovely people, with so much. This country is so rich, so extraordinary and rich.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's something maybe you and I should do. We should think about doing like a week in Florence and beyond, just doing the other stuff, because there's just so much. We used to do a week-long Florence tour years ago. I think it was 2007 that we stopped doing it, but I always enjoyed that. But what I didn't like about that tour is we spent too much time doing things that are well-known. But I mean, like one of my friends keeps telling me that I need to go out to Prato, spend time in Prato, for example.
Prato is actually quite beautiful. You know, when you drive by in the highway, you go, do I want to go there? But the center of Prato is a little gem. It's a gem.
Yeah, and this is the problem with Italy, is that I think that tourists have been herded so much into this, like, you know, queue of things. You have to go to Venice and see, you know, Piazza San Marco. You have to go to Florence and see Piazza Signoria and the Uffizi. You have to go to Rome. You have to see the Colosseum and the Vatican. But there's so much more to Italy. And, you know, I don't know, people have always teased me because, oh, you've been traveling for 25 years and you keep going to the same country. That's lame. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Italy.
No. One of the comments my clients often make is, Elisabetta, it looks like you've been here. This is the first time you've been here. Or how long have you been doing this? I've been doing this for, I don't know, if in the Uffizi, I've been doing this for 10 years. And it looks like the first time. Well, you know, it is always a first time because there's always something to discover. Uffizi, look at a painting, I don't know, or anywhere in the city, there's always something to discover. And the beauty of our job is that we are always, or at least I am always, rediscovering sites through the eyes of my clients. And because there will always be that little note or that little detail, or a child might say, what's that? I go, yeah, what's that? Oh, I'd never noticed that, and I've passed on this road God knows how many times. And I had never noticed it. And that's the beauty also of the job we do, because we're constantly getting refreshed and seeing things with these new eyes, and through the eyes of the people we show these sites to and these places to. And there's so much to see.
Yeah, there is. And I think that the great joy of my job has been that, you know, I'm a guide, but I have local guides as well. So I get to kind of be a hybrid in the sense that I just enjoy listening to you. I enjoy listening to your point of view and the things that you say, because, you know, each local guide, I know dozens of local guides in Florence, but what's fascinating is each one takes a completely different perspective because of their particular personality or passion. So you're particularly interesting, I think, because you're such an international person, like a hybrid of many cultures. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your upbringing, just because I think it's fascinating, all the places you've lived? How many countries have you lived in?
Oh, I haven't counted them. I don't know, 10, something like that. Lived. My
Wow.
dad. Okay, let's explain. My dad worked for the UN, so for the Food and Agriculture Organization, and so when I was, I think, 4, we left for Brazil. You saw that post that I did on where you have my sister and I, and we were in Brazil. So
Yeah.
when I was 4, I think we left for Brazil. Then we went to Haiti. Then we went to Guatemala. Then we had a little intermezzo in Nicaragua. Then we went back to Guatemala. Then we went to the Philippines. Then we went to Chile. And in each country we lived, except for Brazil, where we lived for 4 years, we lived for 2 years, more or less 2-3 years. So I went to the local schools up to a certain point where there were schools. If there weren't schools, for example, in Haiti, it was correspondence schools. So homeschooling in a way, because there was no possibilities. Then I went to Brazilian school, to French school, to American schools, Italian schools. I'm a bit of a confused little schooled person. And as I mentioned in that post, my parents, and I think the engine behind that was my mom. My mom is an avid traveler. And I think my mom was the engine behind my father taking that job, because her father used to work for the UN. So she had grown up traveling. And so I think she was the engine behind everything. And at any occasion, it was road trip. We are going here, we're going there. We were never, ever in one place. We traveled throughout the whole of Central America, camping, in little local inns, nothing fancy. We traveled throughout Chile. I traveled independently then on my own, Africa, North, South America. I just came back from Japan. When you were doing your tour in Egypt, I was in Japan.
Oh man, we should have coordinated. Could have met you in Japan. Oh no, we
Yeah,
tried to.
yeah.
No, actually, I talked to you about that. I was thinking we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting trip. I'm sure. How
Yeah,
was
I need to get all your interesting information on that. I'm quite curious because we haven't really spoken about that yet.
Oh, I was just thinking as we're talking, I'm thinking that maybe we should have a little private happy hour, online Zoom happy hour, and we can invite
yeah.
our mutual friends.
Yeah.
There's a lot to catch
that
up
would be
on,
fun.
let me tell you. Anyway, how was Japan?
Yeah,
Like it?
that would be fun. Excuse me?
You like Japan? How'd that go?
Oh, I love Japan. I really loved Japan. I really loved it. So I'm actually quite fortunate because I went to visit a friend in Tokyo, and she's Japanese, so stayed a bit of time with her in Tokyo, and then for 2 weeks I was with another friend who is a mosaicist, who's a Florentine mosaicist, and the 3 of us are really good friends. And Tomoko, the Japanese, had been inviting us forever. I think she was inviting us, but not really expecting us to go. And so finally we decided, we're coming. If you want, we come. And so we went, and it's lovely, lovely trip, lovely country, very easy to travel and extremely easy to travel.
Wow.
Very easy.
Well,
very,
that's
very
fabulous
easy.
because, as you know, Nico, who you met this summer, he's learning Japanese. So one of these days, we're going to get there once we can actually get on an airplane. So, oh, and I should warn you, by the way, that if airplanes start flying this summer, I'm coming. So.
Well, that thing that you said, we should do a Zoom meeting. And I was thinking, no, Sarah, we should do a real, face-to-face meeting in front of a proper table with a proper drink.
Hey, is our favorite wine bar open? It is, I think, isn't it?
I honestly don't know. Because a lot of things have opened and a lot have not. So I honestly don't know.
Yeah, I think it is.
Tell you the
I think the one that's over by the Duomo Square. I think that place. I think
oh, that might be open. Yeah,
yeah.
that might be open.
So
If
getting
you're
back
talking
to
about the other,
your very interesting life story. So I'm just curious because I don't think I've ever asked you this. What prompted
oh
you to
Lord,
become a guide?
what prompted me to guide?
Yeah,
Is it?
because you were a painter before that.
No. Painting has always been a hobby and a way of putting things together, or at least let's put it this way. My explanation to painting is the via di mezzo. It has allowed me to put together this very interesting past in very poor countries, in a radically different reality. With what was Italy in the 1980s and the 1990s, very opulent, very La Milano da bere, etc. And so I might have mentioned to you that my first culture clash, what's the word when you go into culture and you don't understand, you have culture shock. My first culture shock was coming back to Europe. That was when I had my culture shock, because I was used to living in radically different realities, and coming back to Europe was, whoa, what is this? Because I was used to extreme poverty. I was used to seeing people living in a different way. And I started painting to bring these elements together, to bring that history or that story that I knew with this new reality that I was living in, which I knew but was learning to know better, but I couldn't seem to put them together, and painting allowed me to do that. Cool. So it's not that I paint for a living, I paint for my soul.
So I do the same thing. I do art for the same reason, just because it's good for it. It's something.
Yeah.
I started doing that last year when I was going through some personal stuff. That I just took I think I showed you. I was taking watercolors with me everywhere, and every time I would just park the group and I'd grab my watercolors and I'd go find a curb and sit on a curb and just paint whatever I saw. Because what I found in doing that was it just calmed me. It just reset my brain in a different way. And also gave me the opportunity to sit and deeply study what I was looking at. And every single one of those places I painted last year, and I painted those little postcards, those are the strongest memories of my year last year.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
So anyway, but the question was, why did you become a tour guide?
Oh, yeah. Why did I become a tour guide? It was actually quite casual, in the sense that I started because a friend of mine had said that a company was looking for tour guides. Well, wait, watch out, accompagnatori. Yeah. How finicky we are in Italy, guys. Okay, so was looking for accompagnatori, and these guys specialized in cooking lessons, wine, and stuff like that. And so let's say the first part of my guiding career, or accompagnamento career, was working around wine and food. And then I started working for a very high-end wine tour company. And then gradually, I did the course to become a tour guide, not accompagnatore, in Florence. These are very, very specialistic little things of Italy. And so it was merely casual. I think it really worked for me, because as I reflect and as I think, especially in those 2 months of lockdown, I was thinking of all the people I met and I have met throughout these years and this job. I think the fact that I grew up in so many countries, the fact that I have seen so many different realities allows me to connect to people in a quite unique way. And so I see myself very much as someone who mediates, via di mezzo, who mediates between cultures, who tries and explain what you are seeing, maybe also through not the purely Italian point of view or gaze, but rather also through another gaze. And it was casual, but it worked.
You know, it's interesting you talk about that, because I think that you and I, one of the things that I appreciate about you, and I feel like we have a connection on, is this cultural chameleon aspect. Because I've spent, you know, my dad is from Europe, and I've spent a lot of time traveling and working as a tour guide and meeting all kinds of different people all over the world. And I've always found that I am attracted to forming bonds with people like that, that also are either expats or have a broad experience of the world like that. And I've never really wrapped my mind around what it is that connects me with those kinds of people. But I was in Thailand last year with a friend, and he was saying to me one day how he found it really disturbing how easily I just slide into a new culture. And I pick up the local language, and I pick up the local customs, and I just roll with it, interact with the local people. And it had never occurred to me until somebody kind of close to me, but an outsider, looking at me going, you do that, and that's a really weird skill. I mean, it wasn't a bad like, that kind of terrifies me, the way you can just slide into a new culture. And I went, oh, that's that thing that I like about some people like you, that like people that I connect with. That's the thing I just think is interesting. These people who were kind of like a new breed of people somehow, you know, people that have this broad experience. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's you know, it's quite a modern feature, in the sense that in such an interconnected world, because we are so interconnected, and today through travel, etc., yes, it is a very modern thing, because you get to travel, you get to see places, and rather than being aloof and not allowing these to touch you, you try and understand them. And we have that opportunity we have had that opportunity to see so many beautiful different places. And travel is that, isn't it? I mean, travel is observing, taking it in, and seeing the differences, and understanding the cultures, and oh wow, look at the way they do that. How interesting. It's a funny thing. Another thought that I've been rambling a lot in these last 2 months of solitude in my little teeny weeny apartment in Florence. Another thing that I was reflecting on and thinking about was, I don't know if I ever showed you the tiles of Florence. Have I ever, in one of our various roaming around, have I ever shown you the tiles of Florence? Have we ever looked at tiles together, roof tiles?
We've never looked at tiles together.
That's something I do quite a lot now. And why do I do that? Because on these, especially on the old tiles, the cop, which are the round ones, the round little tiles that go on top of the two flat ones, you see the hand gestures, the gesture of the hand of the guy who worked those. And so you see these hands, you see the hand marks, the print of whoever made that tile. And that reminds me of, and that's why I'm so excited when I see that. And I tell my clients, look at that. That is so cool. Look at that. You see the hand gesture of that dude. We don't know who that dude was, but look at that. I don't know, maybe 200 years later, we're looking at his work. And we don't know who he is, but wow, that is so cool. And that reminds me of something I saw in Bolivia, where I saw this little family. We were running around with my father. This was in the 1980s, near Cochabamba. And we were roaming around, going somewhere with him to some project of his. And on the road, there was this family who was making adobo, brick adobo, and they were making tiles. And this guy was forming the tiles on his thigh and doing that gesture with his hands whilst forming the tile. And every time I see the tiles here, I think of that man who was doing the same thing in the 1980s. And this is what travel allows you to do. to make these connections now and to see, wow, look, there's still people who are working that way. What you see today in Florence, maybe that was done 400 years ago, was done with a similar technique that you see today in somewhere else in the world. And ooh, how fascinating is that? And how beautiful and poetic is that?
It's the cultural connections that the kind of span across. It doesn't matter where you are. I mean, there's tile makers in every country in the world. So yeah. No, I think that's really beautiful. And also looking and seeing the echoes of human actions throughout the centuries. And maybe that's what attracts me to Italy so much, is that there are fingerprints of 3,000-4,000 years worth of human activity.
Exactly.
Which we don't really have here, obviously, but I mean, I think there's something very comforting about walking down a street that you know that people have been walking down for. I mean, Via di Mezzo has been there 1,000 years, more than that. So walking down that
Via di Mezzo has been there quite a long, yeah.
Kind of.
And it is quite comforting now to walk through these cities and say, okay, this has survived. I think of Florence now. This has survived as we see it, more than 2,000 years. No, it gives you a sense of comfort and, okay, that's good.
And Florence in particular, your situation where you're sitting right now, this for me feels particularly comforting, in that I'm thinking about Via di Mezzo. I see you in Settignano, and that brings us to 1347, 1348, and the Black Plague, and all of the Boccaccio, and all of the events surrounding the Black Plague, which were very, very dark years. But Via di Mezzo persists, and it's still there, and these things happened after the plague. And there were actually a lot of positive things that came out of the plague. So I don't know. For me, that gives me some perspective on our current situation.
No, I mean, the perspective, I think it's not only the plague of the 1340s, it's numerous plagues. It's so much hardship. It's 2 world wars. It's so much. And it's quite funny. On regards to all this, I'm bringing you back to lockdown. When I was in Via di Mezzo, one morning I opened my persianas and I see a lady in front of me who, honestly, me working, I had never seen, because I work, I go out in the morning, I come back in the evening, boom, eat and go to sleep, essentially. And I saw this woman and I go, buongiorno signora, buongiorno, buongiorno. And she goes, it was the beginning of lockdown, and she goes to me, mamma mia, ho visto la guerra. She was a young child in Second World War. Ho visto l'alluvione, the flood of 1960, oh Lord, 1966. I have a moment of drama. Yeah. E ora vedo questo. And she had me in Via di Mezzo. Her family, she was there during the flood, and sfortunatamente mi tocca anche questo. Però mi tocca anche questo. I have to do also this. And she's still there every morning, opening her window, and we wave hello to each other. So yes, look at that woman in one lifetime, and she's still there.
Yeah, well, and that ability to persist no matter what, I think is really I don't know, it's a good perspective, because I think a lot of us feel like these are end times, but how many times have people felt like it was end times, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
as I tell my mom, who once in a while will call me, oh, Ellie, I will hop in a plane again. Mom, it's temporary. It will pass. We have overcome as society, as civilization, as whatever. Or we might fall and rebuild, etc. But it will pass.
It has to. Yeah. My personal feeling is that it's actually going to at least tourism and travel, I think, is going to start again in the next few months for those who are, I think, adventurous enough to do so. I hope so, because I'm looking forward to coming and having a spritz with you and having a chat in person, as you said. So I
That
think
would be
for somebody
nice.
like
That would be
me,
very
this is
nice.
particularly hard just because I'm cut off from my people. You know,
Yeah.
that's hard.
But look, while I was in lockdown, I was once in a while, I didn't go on Facebook, and I didn't go out, or at least I didn't go in those Facebook and things too much, because uh, at a certain point, I spent all that time alone in my apartment, and at a certain point, this video became a bit frustrating for me, because you see people in video, but you can't. Now and I'm very touchy, as you know. I'm a very, very touchy tour guide. I love touching people. I don't know, it just comes spontaneous. And so, but once in a while I would see your garden and I go, blimey, Sarah, enjoy that. And your kids and all the nice things you were doing. I mean, you've had some wonderful times, I think, with your sons and doing things together. And that's impagabile.
It is. And, when I brought them, and you met them last summer, and when I brought them, part of the reason I brought them last summer was that I just felt like I'm away too much, and I wanted them to start getting involved in my travel life. So that was because they can do that now, they're of the right age. And I was thinking about that the other day, how in January I was very tense because I had so much scheduled for this year that I just was tense about not having them with me. So I brought them to Thailand with me just as in anticipation of that, thinking, okay, I can take them to this because it's during a school holiday and at least we get this time together. So in a way for me, having this forced time out has been sort of like a relief, in that, my older one is going to be out of here in 2 years. He's going to be in college in 3 years. So yeah, it's precious time. And yeah.
You echo a bit what, and I'm going to bring out Celeste a second, what Celeste was mentioning to me the other day. We're talking about how different the experience was for both of us. And she was home with her family, and she said, I have cherished every single moment of the time I have spent with my daughters in this period. And I am so happy of this situation, that this has allowed me to spend this precious time with my daughters before they move off and they do their own things, etc., etc., etc. So it's I'm all alone.
You are so not all alone. You've got so many friends.
No, I have been very, very lucky. I am very, very lucky. Look at where I am, and I am very lucky. I'm very lucky. So, I was very sorry.
Oh no, just go ahead.
No, go for it. Oh,
I was just going to say, for the people who are watching out there, if they want to come to Florence in the future, and they want to get a taste of the Florence you and I enjoy, because you and I enjoy a very different Florence than the Florence that the tourists enjoy, because you're a local and I'm a quasi-local. So how is it that we can, if somebody is coming to Florence, what do you think is the best strategy? Is there an area people should go and investigate? How can they kind of get the real experience rather than the touristic experience?
We have to see. Now that's a bit difficult to say at the moment, because we have to see how the local government is going to, and what they're going to implement. Okay, so what is going to happen is a bit changing, and I don't feel comfortable. Well, obviously I go into town, etc., and I try and suss out what's going on. But at the moment, it's very difficult to say. For sure, I will continue looking for places that are that have that genuine feel to it, and not feel, but that essence to it that I think is Florence. So I will keep on looking for my family-run restaurants, for the shops that are, where you see those people with that really are Florentines. They want you to taste that. They want you to eat that. They haven't sold their souls, and they are still adamant in giving and showing and producing that. So I am going to, it's all a bit of a reset, Sarah, because we don't know. It also depends on local government. What are they going to implement? Are they going to allow, or is it going to go back to what it was? If it's going to go back to what it was, then I know exactly where I am not going to go, or at least where I'm going to go, but which ways I'm going to take and which roads I'm going to take to go there. Okay. Will it be a reset also of how are we going to see the city? I hope people will come to Florence and spend much more time rather than 3 nights in Florence, spend more time in Florence. It deserves it.
Well, I think that for me, I feel like that's the reset that's going to happen in the short term. And that's why, for next year, I'm planning the tours that I'm going to offer are all going to be staycations. They're all going to be sitting in one place or staying longer in each place or staying in the countryside, because I'm also just really against the way tourism has been. And I think maybe I'm just an eternal optimist, which tells you that I'm not very European because I'm so optimistic all the time. But my eternal optimism is that this is a chance for places like Florence to kind of take a breather and go, okay, it's not what is tourism, what that has been imposed on us, what is the tourism that we want? And how is it that we can
exactly
in a way that's compatible with our lifestyles? So
the Cardinal of Florence, Bettori, said in his on Sunday, he brought a similar concept. Now, I am probably totally misquoting or whatever what he said, but the gist of it was the city mustn't be a city that you consume or is going to be consumed, but rather a city where you focus on people, on its history, on its philosophy, on what it has as essence. And not only Florence, also many other Italian cities, also many other European cities that have such interesting, complex histories, but have been consumed.
Yeah.
Like fast food.
Well, and the people that consume them like that don't actually understand those cities at all. I mean, I would argue that I've learned more about Florence sitting at your kitchen table than I ever have walking through the, I think that that's the thing, is that when I think of all the hotel owners that I've become friends with, that we, sit in the breakfast room long after everybody's left and we just talk about local politics, or we talk about what's going on in their lives. And for me, that feels like a more valuable visit than blitzing through all the famous works of art and not even understanding. Some people, I think, look at those things and they don't even understand what they're looking at. So yeah, I mean, I think going forward, you're right, focusing on the people, the daily lives. What is it to live in that particular city? I've told you what my dream is, right? My dream of when the kids leave home. Have I told you?
No.
Okay, so
yes. I think I know what you. Yes. I think I know.
Is that in the off season when I'm not working, what I want to do is that every November, December, January, February, I want to move to a different city every year, and I want to get an apartment. I want to learn the language. I want to go to the theater. I want to make friends there. I want to just deeply study one city a year, and not just in Europe, but anywhere in the world. Just go live in Bangkok for a year, go live in Berlin for a year, like that. And that, I think, because I just feel like that would be such an enriching experience to actually plant yourself somewhere for an extended period of time. So you've done that though in your life. So
Yep. I've done that. Very, very, very immersed. Yeah. In a very immersed way.
Do you plan to stay in Florence? Are you going to ever live anywhere else after this?
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. I don't know. As you know, I tend to dream a lot. Also, I have my little Pindaric flights, especially when I get to the middle of the season and I'm so tired. And so I do start flying around and go, oh, where would I like to go? But no, I don't know. I really, really, I mean, I do love Italy. I do love Italy. And it is, this whole period has also made me see my fellow Italians in a different way. I am actually quite proud of what I've seen happen in this country in these last 3 months, and behaviors and sense of responsibility and of others. So it's been very interesting.
I'm not actually surprised about the way the Italians have responded and the solidarity they show and the way they take care of each other, because I think...
I was actually quite surprised.
Were you? I don't know. I feel like Italians take care of each other.
The civic sense. What surprised me is the sense of senso civico, which, you know, I always see Italians as very anarchic in a way and doing their own thing. And it actually surprised me that they came together in this way. It really surprised me. I mean, I am so proud of Italians because of what they did and how they did it with this. Yes, and the coming together obviously is part of the culture and it's part of the background and the helping each other and the solidarity, etc. But seeing it like this, a whole nation deciding to stop and adhering to it, more or less 80% of the population with rigor and determination was, wow, chapeau.
Well, I've seen it,
chapeau.
you know, I've seen Italy unite very strongly together before, you know, every 4 years during the World Cup.
But this is, yeah.
And on that thought, I want to thank you so much, Elisabetta. This hour has flown by. I feel like we just started talking, so it's always such a pleasure to talk to you. I just wish we were hanging out we're having our spritz.
Can I make a comment? Can I make an extra comment on the Corona monologues?
Go ahead.
On the Corona monologues, which I am still waiting for you to send us something. Hello?
Corona monologues. Oh, I forgot about that. Yes. No, ping.
Shame.
About that.
Yeah. So we're still waiting for you.
No, go ahead and talk about
it.
Talk about it. Tell people.
No. The Unusual Tourist, and actually Celeste, who is Filipino, and the Unusual Tourist is producing the Corona monologues. We decided to do something that was a bit unusual, not your usual tourist, but rather ask women throughout the world who we know to write or make a video or whatever they wanted of their creative selves and present something that of a minute and a half, more or less, connected to their experience of lockdown. And we've received a lot of material. Celeste, who has, in her previous career, was a performer in theater, is always connected to theater, is always performing, etc. And the idea was to bring these pieces together and make a theater piece of it, show it in a theater, hopefully in autumn, stream it online, and everything is also to fund, and it's to collect funds for women at the grassroots level in the Philippines. So soul earners, women who are trying to make a living in that will have an even harder time. And so we found this association in the Philippines that is connecting to these women and will then give these funds to selected women to help them, and then show us how that money was spent, what these women managed to create. I was thinking of like micro economy or things like that. No, and try and help these communities with all our creative energies, etc. Sarah, we're still waiting for you and for your lovely contribution. Oopsie daisy. Still waiting.
Remind me. You know, I've got a million balls in the air. So just ping me and remind me, and put me on a time schedule. So how about let's make it by Friday? I'll try to get that to you because I have some ideas.
Okay.
I'm still in lockdown. Actually, I'm doubly in lockdown because I'm on lockdown for.
Yes, you have too.
Yeah, I'm on lockdown for the coronavirus, and I'm also on lockdown for the riots in Seattle.
So you have no excuse. So you got to present us with something.
Yeah. Well, I'm stuck in the house, so why not? Well, my friend, it has been absolutely lovely to have you. Thank you for coming. I know that being on camera is maybe not your most exciting favorite thing ever. So you guys have to understand, Elisabetta, I feel like I dragged her kicking and screaming to do this because I know that she doesn't like the whole camera thing. But it has been wonderful talking to you. And I'm so happy that all of my followers get to meet you because I think you're fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you.
If any of you are out there planning to do a trip to Tuscany or to Florence, please do contact Elisabetta. You can find her on Facebook at Florence City Tour. That's her Facebook page. And she writes.
Yeah, FlorenceCityTour.com, because there's a guy he does electric carts. So please do not go with the electric cart guy. He took FlorenceCityTour.com. That's me. Not electric carts. I don't do electric carts.
All right.
Oh, Lord.
And you can find
okay. And the unusual tourist.
Well, and if you go with Elisabetta, I can guarantee you will have a good time because you're really stinking funny. So yeah, I think that that would be a great choice for anybody who's going there. So thank you very much, my friend. I will speak to you later in the week about your project, and I'll be sure to also to share that with all of you guys out there watching when that project develops, so you all can check that out and help to support a good cause of women in the Philippines. So, all right, buona serata. Have fun in Settignan.
Ciao, Sarah.
Listening to the peacocks in the background.
Yeah. You take care, huh? Take care.
Vediamo presto. Ciao.
A presto.
Ciao.
A presto.